My mom was a housewife. She didn't work at all until I was about 10. And then my father left us, and she had to go to work. I was not happy at home. My mother was, what should I say, a bitter woman, and this was many years later. None of her friends, all her friends had husbands at home. It didn't happen in Jewish families, as a rule, that the husbands left. But she was ashamed. She was ashamed. And the first year after he left, she didn't go out of the house at all. I mean, years later, I assumed she must have had like a nervous breakdown or something, or depression, but I didn't understand that at 10 years of age. But she didn't go out of the house, and people would say, "We haven't seen your husband. We haven't seen his car come in to the garage, you know." Well, he came home late, he came home early. She made excuses and told me not to say anything in school. Don't tell them anything in school. And that's a big burden for a 10-year-old child. My earliest recollection of my dad was that he was very intelligent, very smart, always took courses. He owned a big supermarket, which in those days we didn't have, other than A&P, we didn't have many supermarkets. But he hardly was there because he was always pursuing other avenues. After my father left, I stayed in that house with my mom till I graduated high school. I went to Madison School, was my elementary school, and there were no school buses at those times. You walked, so it was like a 5-6 block walk. And I went there from maybe first grade to 8th grade. And then I went to Central High School, which was downtown in Bridgeport. Also no school buses. You had to take the regular city transportation. Or you could walk, but that was a big walk. That was a big, long walk. Math was my least favorite. I didn't like math at all. I struggled through it. I made it, but I did not enjoy it. But I took a college course thinking I would be going to college, but that never happened. There just wasn't enough money for me to go. Well, we went to the beach a lot because in Bridgeport we were right on the Sound, you know. So we did go to the beach a lot. I don't remember going as a family. I don't remember if my father went or it was just my mother and us on the bus or something. You know, my father was not a part of the family. Well, we played outside, played jacks. Remember jacks? We played jacks. We played... We used to rub, you probably wouldn't know this. We used to take peach pits and rub and rub and rub and rub and rub till a hole came through it, and so it was like a ring. We made a ring out of the peach pit. Rub it on the cement. And I would go over to my girlfriend's house down the block, and she would come over to mine, but outside. Everything was outside in the summer. And then we would wait for the ice cream man to come. My whole life was in Bridgeport up until the time I graduated high school. After I graduated high school, I went to New York, and my father got me a job where he worked. He worked for the Fur Dyers Association. I was sometimes bookkeeper, sometimes switchboard operator. Right, the old switchboard operator. And I lived with my sister. She was married at that time. My cousin, who lived in New York, fixed me up on a blind date. And the guy she fixed me up with also lived in Washington Heights. And we were going out to celebrate my middle cousin's birthday. I think she was 16 or something. And so she asked her boyfriend, my older cousin, if he knew somebody, and this guy showed up. And that was it. We were together ever after. Well, he was cute. He was a good dancer. It came the following week. He called me for another date, so I figured this, it was going in the right direction. And he shared a car with another guy. They owned the car in partnership. I didn't want to get married. I was afraid. It was wartime. I was afraid he would either not come back or come back crippled. And that frightened me. And he wanted to get married. And I said, we'll get married when you come home. And he was away for 3 years, a little more than 3 years. And we got married like a month later, 5 weeks later, a big wedding in Washington Heights, further up in 180-something street. There was these places where you had weddings and everything, yeah. There were no apartments. All the boys were coming back. You couldn't get an apartment for love or money. We used to look in the paper where somebody died, and I'd go there and see if we could get the apartment. That's the way it was then. It was impossible to get an apartment. So we moved in with my sister, a one-bedroom apartment, and she already had a child, or maybe two, one child, maybe two, I don't recall. And we slept in like a foyer, with a couch like this, an open couch. And I bless her heart. I mean, it couldn't have been easier for her. Couldn't have been easy for her. I loved her dearly. Loved her dearly. We really didn't get close till I was older because there was such an age gap between us. But I did love her very much. We left Washington Heights to move to Washington when Larry was about 18 months old. My husband was offered this opportunity to open a stand in Eastern Market, and his parents already owned one stand, and it was doing very well, and they thought he should come. And then we got an apartment. There was a new community called Brentwood Village up on Rhode Island Avenue. After Brentwood Village, we moved to Maryland to Ruatan Street. That's off New Hampshire Avenue. Then it was getting we needed a bigger apartment, and we moved into Silver Spring off Flower Avenue on Piney Branch Road. And we had like 3 bedrooms. So we were really doing well, as far as room. 1 bathroom, but 3 bedrooms. And it was a really nice community. Everybody was friendly, and a lot of young kids. And the 2 older children started school there. And it was a nice life, And we moved to our house when David started school, and he was in kindergarten. Then we moved to our house on Grayson Avenue, which was off University Boulevard. I was very active in Hadassah, very active, for many, many years. I was president a couple of times. Yes, my husband thought it was very important that the boys be bar mitzvahed, and I did too. They were Jewish boys, and they had to know where they belonged. They didn't love it. They didn't love going. But our home was not a kosher home. It wasn't a religious home. And we did not belong to a shul, except for the time the kids were going to Tiferet Israel on 16th Street. They probably haven't stepped into a shul since then, but we traveled all over. We went to Israel, we went to Spain, we went to Italy, we went to the mountains, the Rocky Mountains. We did a lot of traveling. I loved Israel. I loved Israel. I loved Italy. I mean, Florence was absolutely gorgeous. There's nothing like Venice. I mean, it's an experience, absolutely an experience. And then we took a cruise with friends, with 2 other couples, to Alaska, which was wonderful. And we always used to look in the paper, what's doing someplace in Virginia, a fair or something. So Saturday, when he got through with work, he didn't work all day Saturday, worked maybe a half a day. We would look for places to go, and the 6 of us would go together. We were friends for many, 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 many years. We were married 50 years. And he died in 2001. He had Alzheimer's. And this is where he sat. This chair. Didn't move out of this chair. It was a huge loss for me. But I took care of him. He was not in a facility. He was here. I was able to take care of him. And it was just sad when the kids used to come. He didn't always know who they were. He would say, "Those boys are very nice. Who do they belong to?" And that would break my heart, of course. They were his. Well, he didn't wander like some Alzheimer's patients do. He wasn't cantankerous. He wasn't bad, you know. If I said, "Come eat," he came to eat. If I said, "Sit," he sat, you know. He was good. Only once he used to call me a lot. And I had stopped working at that time. Glor, 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 Glor. What is it? I need a handkerchief. And I'd say, "You know what? You can get out of your chair and go in the bedroom, go to your night table and get a handkerchief. Why do you have to call me?" He said, "Well, you're up anyhow. You can," which was logical. "You're up anyhow. Why can't you get it?" I said, "Supposing I get sick and I die, what will you do?" He said, "I'll hire somebody else." And that broke my heart. I cried. I just cried and cried and cried. But it was logical, absolutely logical. I take care of him. If I can't, he'll get somebody else. But I'll hire somebody else. I loved him and dearly, and he loved me. I mean, it was a good marriage. That was Buddy, my buddy. I'm still involved with Hadassah. I'm a life member, have been a member for 60, 70 years or something. So that's what I do. There's a lot of trips that go on from here, you know, from different organizations. I go gambling once in a while to Harrington, to the slots. I belong to the Comedy and Humor Club that we have here, which I like very much. I enjoy it, and they enjoy me, so obviously I must do something right. I find books of jokes, you know, and I try to do it. And I like that very much. And I go to the Fun and Fancy. That's the theatrical group here. I wouldn't miss anything they do because I feel we have to support them. And they're fantastic. There are people there 89 years old doing tap dancing. You know, it's wonderful. And I have great respect for them. I would not miss anything that they do. As I look back, I think that I have to say my marriage to Buddy and the children were the real joys of my life. Not all the time. Raising 3 boys is not a thrill all the time. They do things that are very strange and unknown to us at that time. But they turned out to be upstanding citizens, and I'm very proud of them. After having my own children, I never realized what a joy it could be to have grandchildren. And then after that, 10 great-grandchildren, 2 sets of twins. I mean, I hit the jackpot. I just wish they lived closer. It's become a difficult thing to travel. And it would give me great pleasure if they all lived around the corner from where I am.